night before I leave for Rotterdam, so I'm going to be moving cities here in the Netherlands, but I thought I would pop on, number one, to show you the beautiful sunset that's happening. It's like 8:45 p.m. on Tuesday, May 16th. This sunset is so beautiful. Like, the buildings themselves aren't even that spectacular, but the sun sets here at like 9:30, and it's just so gorgeous. So I'm about to be interviewed for Very Vogue with Val. I will give you a little behind the scenes here, but I want you to go listen to the episode. I will link it in the caption down below. Go give her some support. And I don't even know what we're going to talk about. I mean, I know we're going to talk about social media and kind of my journey with content creation and with social media. So I really hope you guys go and support her, follow her podcast, listen to the episode, give it a like. I am heading to Rotterdam in the morning. That is just another city within the Netherlands. I think it's like a half an hour drive away from Amsterdam. I'm still trying to get all the geography down, but I will show you guys. I'm going into a completely different hostel, like style of hostel, and I'm going to go to a completely different city I've never been to, so wish me luck, but also send up prayers. I did spend most of the day checking out small businesses for different reels, so I will link those videos below. After visiting the shops and meeting small business owners, I made my way to Amsterdam Centraal en route to Rotterdam. I did get there without any issues, thankfully. My hostel experience in Rotterdam did differ from my Amsterdam experience. For one, I was at a room with 8 beds, and the bunk beds here did not have railings and barely had a personal shelf to their name. But they did provide sheets and towels and a map of the local area. I also thought it was a nice touch that they included the banana because the hostel was called King Kong Hostel, so thus the monkey theme. I went to bed right away when I arrived at the hostel, but the next morning I went out to explore and came across a few barriers at the start of the day. A quick tip: if you buy a Metro card in Amsterdam, it does not work in Rotterdam. And because I feel that this is a smaller town than Amsterdam is, finding a Metro card station is a lot tougher. And when you get there, everything might not be in English, and there might not be an option for that. So I'm just saying, find a local, find a metro station when you get to Rotterdam, and get a new ticket. And it's going to be $10 a day instead of $26 for 4 days. So things to think about. Plan out Rotterdam better than I did. I didn't know any of this, so now I'm letting you know. I did eventually make it to Erasmus Bridge and Markethal. Markethal is basically dozens of food companies under one roof. They had a great variety of options in terms of meal types and ethnic foods. I got a food that is either pronounced Kroket or Kroket. I'm honestly not sure, but it's basically an elongated version of bitterballen, which you saw in the last video, served on a bun with mustard, so it's more of like a sandwich style instead of an appetizer or handheld food. I saw that there were tables above the restaurants and what to sit there, but I was only there for all of 2 minutes before a worker kindly kicked me off because I guess it was only for patrons of certain restaurants, which I didn't know that. I didn't see signs for that. A majority of Rotterdam was flattened in World War II, so in contrast to Amsterdam, the architecture is very modern, and most of it is less than 100 years old. One architectural art piece Rotterdam houses is the Kijk Kubus, or the cube houses. They are residential homes and businesses that sit above a walkway, and they are bright yellow visual illusions. Another architectural wonder that I toured in the area is called Huis Sonneveld. I really think I botched that. I'm so sorry. It's a family home that survived the wreckage of the war. The home was extremely modern at the time it was built due to the color choices of the walls, the furniture, the mix of metals within the house, and the technology it held. This house had over 12 phones and an internal sound system. In relation to the time that it was built, a lot of people maybe had 1 phone in their house, 2 at most. It also had heated towel racks, a shower with 9 shower heads, and buttons under the table to discreetly request a maid's service. The street my hostel was on was called Wit de Whitestraat, and it was the go-to place for young locals in the Rotterdam area. I picked that up very quickly from who was there and how trendy it was.
I think I would have taken advantage of that more if I was on a trip with friends or family, but being a solo female traveler, I didn't necessarily feel safe venturing out alone in the evenings too far from my hostel. The top 3 levels of the building that I stayed in were the hostel, and it did not have an elevator, so every time that I entered the building, I would have to go up a flight of stairs to get into the main level, and then I had to go through 3 more flights of stairs to get to my room, which was a lot of walking, but that's very common in Europe. The main level and the street level of the building are a coffee bar in the morning and like a wine bar at night. I spent a few hours that evening reading and enjoying a chai from the bar. While reading and filming, I met a man named Laurent who lived in the local area. I needed to speak with because he had lived such an interesting life. He, I believe, grew up in France. He had lived in the United States for many years, and then now he lived in Rotterdam. And so it was nice because he not only told me his story about his life and really like personal things that we connected on, but then also he gave me suggestions for the following day of places to visit, which I always appreciate from locals who live there. After my chai, I went upstairs and showered and got ready for bed early. At this point, the travel fatigue was starting to catch up with me pretty badly, so I went to bed at like 7:30 that night. There are a number of lifestyle differences between the United States and the Netherlands, but the most eye-opening one was how much people walk and bike. These videos alone are about 2 blocks worth of bikes. They were more common than cars there, and most of the cars in the Netherlands are also electric, which I found fascinating. Loren had suggested I see the beauty of Laurenskirk, or St. Lawrence Church, and also make a trip to Hotel New York. Hotel New York is the main port of the Holland America cruise line here, but it also was the equivalent to the Ellis Island of the Netherlands. Many people left from this port to go to the United States, thus the doorway to new beginnings. I did have to head to Purmerend that afternoon, so I enjoyed a final chai and then made my way to the bus station. The bus station forward on this day is where all hell broke loose, but I will get to that in just a moment. The city of Purmerend was cute, but I couldn't find any tourist attractions, museums, or interesting activities really. The day I was there, they had a family carnival in the park, but again, it was not too much for like a young single person to do. I ended up grabbing a girl dinner at Albert Heijn and heading back to the hostel for an early night.
This is like the most privacy I've had in days, and I feel like as much as I show in my travel vlogs like the good and the fun and the excitement of it, because there is a lot of that involved, I think I also need to show times where things are hard. So I wanted to talk about today in my travels to the current city that I am in. I am currently in the city of Purmerend, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and it's like 45 minutes to an hour north of Amsterdam. When I booked this hostel, I did not realize that. I thought I was within like the city center or close to of Amsterdam, like I was in Sloterdijk a couple days ago. I thought it was kind of in the surrounding area of Amsterdam, but it's much further out than, I mean, I would say it's equidistant to as far as Rotterdam was. Rotterdam might have been a little bit further, but I took a direct train there and back. So if you're actually like traveling here in the country, I think it'd be a little further to Rotterdam south. But I think a couple things have set in at this point. I think I'm getting a little overstimulated. I definitely am sick of learning things, which is very unlike me. I am someone who likes to learn new things, and I want to go and see amazing places, and I want to take in the beauty and the adventure of it. And I feel like the last couple days I've just been kind of on autopilot. I'm like, okay, like this person told me this was cool, or you know, the internet said this was cool, and so I would go, and like I'm just not grasping the amazing qualities about the places I'm visiting at the moment. And I think that's because I'm just overloaded with a lot of information every single day. I think also being by myself is taking a toll. I will say, I thought I knew myself well, and then now I've been traveling for a week on my own, and when you don't have anyone else to talk to, and you're really left with just yourself, even in like a city as amazing as Amsterdam is or Rotterdam was, there is something where you learn about yourself in a different way because you have nobody else to talk to and nobody else to learn from. I think I'm getting to that point this week where I'm overwhelmed. I'm kind of sick of learning new things. I'm sick of doing new stuff. And I don't mean to say that in a way of like, oh, poor me. Obviously, this is amazing that I get to do this. But I just am realizing I've hit my wall. And I think the moment I realized today that I hit my wall was tonight when I was at this hostel. Now let me give you a little rundown of how today went. This morning I got up. I did all the amazing stuff that you guys saw. It was very cool to be at the New York hotel and in that area and see where people left. That is the third location I've been to that kind of has a history with immigration. I went to Ellis Island with my mom in 2018. I went to the Cork County stop in Ireland in 2019 with my family, where we think that my family left Ireland from. And then now I've been at the New York hotel in the Netherlands in Rotterdam to see where people from the Netherlands potentially left to go to Ellis Island. Amazing morning. Everything was going well. I thought, oh, it was so simple getting to Rotterdam from Amsterdam, so it'll probably be just as simple to get, to go back north. And even though there's the extra time and the extra distance, it should be fine. The transportation here is great. It was a struggle getting back to Amsterdam Central, mostly because once I got there, I just felt like the help that I had received at other stations just wasn't present at Amsterdam Central. I don't know if it was just the day or the timing or what. But I go in there and then it's telling me that I should buy a ticket for bus 305. So I'm looking at the board of all of the buses coming through and there's 306, but there's not 305. So I go to where 306 is supposed to be and then the bus says 305. So I'm asking the bus driver, is this the right place? I'm trying to go to this area and he says yes. So I got on the bus, we go one stop, and the bus breaks down. And the bus driver is basically like, everybody needs to get off. There will be more buses coming, like you have to figure it out. Mind you, I don't have Wi-Fi here, or I should say I don't have data or I don't have cellular, so I can't just pull up when the next bus is coming and which one I should take. So I'm standing there just like abandoned on the side of the road by this bus driver as he like hobbles away with his broken down bus. Another bus comes, I get on. At this point I'm really frustrated because I really didn't get good direction at Amsterdam Central. I didn't get the most solid yes or no on if the bus I was even going to take was correct, and then it breaks down. Now I'm getting on another bus. And this bus driver is like, yeah, I'm heading that way eventually. And I'm like, okay, is there like a better option for me or is this it? And he just said, oh, just come in, come sit down. And so I went in and I had to sit on the bus like an hour. And the whole time I downloaded a Google map of the surrounding area of Amsterdam. And so I'm watching this bus go up and around and come back. And I basically took the entire bus route just to get back to the place where I needed to get off anyway. So I was really frustrated at that. This is now what was supposed to be like an hour and a half excursion has now turned to 2.5 hours. So I get to the hostel and I check in, and what was supposed to be an hour-long talk with my parents turned into a 10-minute one because I was 50 minutes late because the bus route and everything just wasn't right and I didn't really have another option, and I'm in an area like I don't know. So that already in itself was like, so I was so worked up from that. And then all I wanted to do, like, just to put it in perspective, not a lot of privacy the last week and a half, 2 weeks, really no privacy at all. This curtain is like the most privacy I've had in almost a 2-week time span. Even though I'm showering every single day, I feel like all of my clothes, just from the nature of walking and traveling and being in different places with different smells, I feel like all my stuff smells weird. I feel like I smell weird. I am mentally exhausted from the day. I'm physically exhausted from the day. I hadn't eaten a meal at all today. I get to the hostel. All I want to do, have a piece of toast with my, I think it's pronounced duo pinotti. It's like a sweet spread, kind of, if you're back in the United States, it'd be like Nutella. It's like a sweet spread that you'd put on toast or bread. All I wanted was my toast. And I pull the bread out of the bag and it's molding. I was like, I thought that is the lowest point that today could get, because I thought the bus was, I thought the 50-minute delay was, and then there was the bread. So then I have to go in this town that I just got to, that I truly didn't even plan on being in, that I kind of don't want to be in because I'm not in a good mood. I had to go walk half a mile to a grocery store to get bread. I get there, I go to check out, my debit card isn't working because they don't take the card or like the bank that my card is through. So then the lady's like, oh, there's like an ATM down the street. I'm like, all I want is a loaf of bread, you know? So I went down the street, I got my cash, I'm getting my bread, and then you can't check out at this place because you have cash. You have to go on the other side of the store and go check out with this person. And it just was such like a cluster. But I came home and I had my measly dinner, a little apple and my toast with my spread, and I took a shower, and I needed some time before I checked in for this evening to talk about travel. I needed time to not be moody, to not be tired, and I feel like I'm finally at that place. And I guess I'm just looking forward with encouragement for tomorrow. I am trying to turn things around and not be ungrateful for the fact that I get to travel, and not be ungrateful for the fact that I get to explore another city that I didn't even plan to explore. And I'm trying to just take things day by day. The one thing I will say for sure is the stress that comes with this is so different than the stress that I had at home. Like the stress the last year of caretaking for someone, and the stress of being in a job that mentally drained me, that kind of mental drain versus the mental drain of trying to navigate a city are two different things. Because at the end of the day, there's always something exciting about the mental drain that I have here versus like when you're working for a corporation and your mental drain is because your boss like doesn't treat you well. That's a very different type of mental health situation. And so that is the one thing I will say. I want to be transparent. There are going to be days like this when I travel where things don't go the right way or something goes wrong. This time I just happened to be by myself. You know, a couple weeks ago when I went to Texas, there were the tornadoes that touched down, but that was kind of fun because it was like all of us girls just figured it out and navigated it together and took it with ease and with stride. And I feel like it is different when you're alone. But I also want to say that if you're someone who's contemplating traveling, I've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks doing this on my own. There's a lot of comforts that I just came to expect that I don't get. Not only in a physical comfort, in privacy, in having an unlimited amount of clothing at my disposal, things like that, right? Like those are all things we come to expect and just are becoming our basic way of living. And it's been very eye-opening to see how different living this way has become. And in one way, I'm very inspired because I'm seeing all this cool stuff and doing all this cool stuff. In another way, it's a little bit tough because I feel a little limited in the things that I can do as well. But if you're thinking about traveling, I think it's wholeheartedly worth it. And I think days like this are going to happen and you're going to have a little breakdown and you're going to be a little moody, and then you'll get back up and it'll be okay. And it'll all go back to the way it was, and you'll go to bed and you'll level out and it'll be worth it. So I do want to encourage anyone who is traveling that there's good and bad, and that's just the truth of it. It's not rainbows and sunshine in a place that you've never been all the time, but it is worth it. I am probably going to just veg out for the rest of the night, and I will check in either tomorrow or the next day when I head back to Meininger, which was the first hotel that I was at. I will go back to that hostel, and I will probably check in there because that's going to be probably quieter than this little cube I'm in. So I will see you then.
In the morning when I was fresh, I did connect with one of the front desk workers, and oddly enough, he knew about the Quad Cities, which, if you know, is where my family is from. I guess he studies rivers and bodies of water, so he follows the Mississippi and knew where I was talking about. After we solidified our friendship, he directed me to a bus route which had direct connection to transportation for Amsterdam Centraal so I could get back to Sloterdijk eventually. This is where I will end the Rotterdam video, but I will see you in the next one in my final portion of Amsterdam/Sloterdijk. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the final Amsterdam video.